Okay, welcome back, folks. This is our Briggs and Stratton Model A project motor that we're restoring as best we can. This engine is not the topic of this video, though. We're talking about a Briggs engine, but not this one. But before we get into what we're really talking about here, this is the cast iron shroud that I bought on eBay. It's been soaked in evaporust to get rid of all corrosion. I have then cleaned it thoroughly. I've painted it with this green paint, and I didn't really like the results, so I sanded it. I sanded the paint to kind of remove the peaks while remaining the paint in the valleys remain. It's pretty badly pitted. And then I put a bunch of coats of it looks like shit, but I put a bunch of coats of high build primer on it. And once this cures, maybe tomorrow, I'm going to sand it as best I can, sand it smooth. I'll get some new sanding blocks. I like the sanding sponges; those work really well for just quick jobs. Then we'll see how it looks. Then maybe do another coat of primer. But it's pretty nasty. But that's not what we're talking about today. Let's take a look at the subject du jour and check this out. So here's the deal. I'm going to go in this whole big spiel. It's a story. I'm not going to... Look, if you don't want to hear a story, find another YouTuber. So, my old buddy John the Junk Man, I've known him since I was 6 years old. He's probably 10 years older than my dad. He used to work in the local town dump, and he had a hobby of just... He used to do flea markets. What he would do, he basically just buys and sells anything he can find. But he doesn't generally pay anything for the stuff that he sells. He's really smart like that. Anyway, so he's the one who taught me how to fix lawnmower engines when I was 9. A little eccentric, but a great guy. But what he did is... he would bring home lawnmowers, weed whackers, snowblowers. He'd fix them in his backyard. He'd put them up for sale, and he'd make a few bucks. And he's done this for decades. And anyway, I went to go visit him the other day to get some parts for that. I thought he might have some mufflers, 3/4-inch NPT mufflers that might fit my Model A, so I don't have to go buy one on eBay. And we got to talking, and he says, "Oh, by the way, I might actually have some Briggs parts, like brand new parts." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, my buddy, I forget his name, doesn't matter, passed away, and he left me all of his inventory." And I'm like, "I'm intrigued, do tell." So I went down to his basement, and he has racks of brand new old stock Briggs and Stratton parts, like in the box. And I'm seeing boxes that date back to the 40s. Stuff that all the way up until modern times. I would say modern times as in probably 1990s. The guy that passed away left my friend John all of his inventory. Engines. He had complete engines, half-assembled engines, parts. Not just Briggs, but Tecumseh as well. Tecumseh, Briggs, Kohler, and Onan. And I'm like, that's cool. I wish I knew this before. So anyway, I actually looked through some of this stuff, and I'm finding brand new carburetors for the Briggs and Stratton mowers before they went to the plastic-bodied suction carburetors. Actually, he might even have a brand new carburetor for this tiller right here. That's the era of stuff that he's got. He's got brand new starter springs, starter ropes, air filter assemblies, fuel tanks. He's got fuel tanks. He's got boxes of mufflers. He's got points and condenser sets. He's got complete ignition sets, magnetos, everything nicely boxed and sorted by type. But Tecumseh parts, like Tecumseh's been out of business for years, and he's got stockpiles of Tecumseh parts. he's got valves, pistons, ring sets, head gaskets, engine gaskets, but nothing for my Model A. So it wasn't a wasted trip. But if any of you guys are looking for Briggs parts, let me know. I might be able to get you a deal. Send me what you need. Part numbers. I need part numbers. He might actually have it. He's got complete carburetor assemblies, brand new in box. But he said, I've got this engine sitting here. It's in my way. Do you want it? He more or less just told me to take it. And I said, well, I'm not going to not take it. It could be an interesting little project. Unfortunately, it is missing some parts. But let's talk about this engine in particular. So, it has no compression at all. None. Nada. Zip. Zero. Nothing. What the hell is it? So this is actually a Briggs and Stratton sold through the Sears Roebuck Corporation. So it doesn't have a Briggs dog tag on it. What it has is a Sears Roebuck dog tag, which tells me, of course, here's how Sears part numbers or model numbers work. 500, that's the manufacturer, and then this code here is the actual product. So 500 means Briggs and Stratton. And then this is the specific engine it is. And if you can't read that, it's 307. No, 30. I want to say that's a 1109. I believe that's what it is. And I have a Sears serial number, not a Briggs. The horsepower rating is not marked. But that's what we have going on here. And and it looks a little unusual. It has a strange little base. It's a 4-bolt base, looks like. And it's got this tiny little output shaft. They've milled down the crank to this size. Chances are this engine was used on a washing machine, I'm thinking. Probably a washing machine. It's hard to say for sure. And at one point, it would have been or could have been fitted with a Kickstarter. So this engine. Now, here's another thing. If you look up, now this is from what I can tell, this is either a WI, a Briggs and Stratton WI engine, or something very similar to it. There are many variants of the W series motors, and some of them featured suction carburetors. When I first looked up the Briggs and Stratton WI motor, I noticed that it doesn't have a suction carburetor. In fact, it has a gravity-fed, it has a suction carburetor, but it's a totally different design. The fuel tank is mounted way down here, and there's a brass or copper fuel line that goes from the tank to the carburetor. And I was thinking maybe this carburetor was fitted after the fact. And then I found out that there were some later versions of this engine that did feature a modern style or later style stick carburetor, a suction carburetor. And it looks like that's what this might be. But more intriguing is if you look at the carburetor mounting bolts or bolt pattern, it looks like it's a universal. Like it will actually fit in multiple engines. So I don't really know what this engine is. I don't know whether it's an original carb or if but it's an old carburetor. It's certainly nothing modern. It's not from the 70s or even the 60s. As far as the engine's actual age, it could be as old as about 1941 or so. I believe this engine was in production until 1957. But based on this logo, the typeface, I think it's older than that. I think it could be mid-40s. It's hard to say for sure. Briggs did change their logo multiple times over the years. But what's really nice about this motor is it's all original. The paint is original and it's still intact. This is not an engine that sat behind my grandfather's shed for 20 years. This engine sat indoors. It has an oil bath carburetor. Oil bath air cleaner. Very dirty, but easily cleaned. Let's take a look at that. So there's your oil bath air cleaner element. It's a wire mesh. Looks to be pretty clean. And then you've got what looks like two-stroke oil down in the bowl. There's a rubber seal that is dislodged from the air cleaner body. So that's the thing. Let's see. But overall, this engine isn't seized. That's a plus. We've had to deal with that already once. But there's no compression. Oh yeah, I want to show you this too. Even on this engine, it has a stamped steel flywheel shroud with a hardware cloth screen, just like that guy over there. Well, I have to replace it, but you get the idea. So similar, some similar design elements. Now you'll notice, if you haven't noticed this already, I'd be shocked if you didn't. This engine features a cast iron block, sump, and head. So there's that. It is an open fin design, unlike excuse me, unlike the Model A, which has a closed style fin arrangement. Now, if you look, yeah, right here, this post on engines that did not come from the factory with a Kickstarter, this post would have been missing. But this one, it has the post, but there's no, the pulley and gear set that goes here for the Kickstarter is not present. So this engine it could be a Franken engine. You can tell that the crankcase breather on this one. That's the other thing. The Model WI, I believe, has a crankcase breather similar to the Model A that comes off the side here. This one is integral to the valve stem cover. Now this right here, I believe, is our speed control governor for the vane type. Yeah, this has instead of an internally mounted governor, a gear-driven governor, this has a pneumatic vane-style governor, like a little flag. And I do believe this here is to adjust the engine speed. You just turn this little thumb wheel here. And that's what I'm thinking. I haven't really spent much time with this motor, but I do believe that's how she works. And what this is going to probably do is change the position of that governor, or perhaps even change like a directional vane of some kind. We don't know if this engine gets any spark. I would be interested to figure that out, maybe even right now. I could hook up some kind of tool, we get it spinning, and do that whole rigmarole. Unlike the Model A, the spark plug is in a more traditional location, straight on top of the cylinder, but no compression. And here's the other thing: if you turn the crank and put your hand over the muffler, you can feel it sucking. Okay, you can actually hear it. It sucks and blows out the muffler, which indicates pretty obviously that we have a stuck valve, more than likely a stuck valve. So there's that. Getting this engine running, I'd have to find a fuel tank that fits it, but getting it running shouldn't be all that difficult. I do not imagine that this engine would be very difficult to get running. Because it's not seized up, I shouldn't have to pull it apart like I did with that one. Now, this is not a project I'm going to tackle anytime soon. I just wanted to show you guys what I got going on, and maybe you might have some ideas. Any of my loyal viewers might have a clue as to what this might have been used on. I'm thinking a washing machine. So anyway, let's go over some more anatomy here. So you've got your oil. This might be one of these is your fill hole. Should be this one or this one. There's your drain. Original paint, like I said, hasn't really been messed with. This is an engine that sat in somebody's shop for God knows how long. And here's another little bonus. The spark plug. So the brand name of this plug is Power Mower. I remember seeing these plugs in engine service kits, like the kind you'd buy at the local hardware store, as far back as the mid-90s. Power Master. So this engine has run, or likely run, at least once in the past couple decades. And that's not a bad looking plug. It's a little sooty, but not terrible. Piston goes up and down. Let's have the battle. Let's see if we can see the valves. Bend this tang out of the way here. I cannot see the valves. Let me see. No, their valves are right here. I can't see them. Either of them. So we got to pull this head off to see what the hell's going on. Which means pretend, but it is very clean in there. What I can see of it anyway. It's not a mess. So this engine likely was not a heavy oil burner. Let's see if we can get anything out of this spark or ignition system. So far nothing. That doesn't mean it's junk. Well, or that we don't have spark. So let's try this again. This time I'm going to reposition the plug. And I should have, well, if it was any good, I should have gotten something out of it at that point. So let's try a better. Yeah. Well, I don't want to hang on to it per se. Because I've been bit before. Let's try that. No, there's no spark. At least not that I can tell, given the circumstances. So it sounds like we're going to have to do a full flywheel off kind of deal. Take a look at the points. That's usually the case with these old motors. The points get gross. And yeah, and they don't run. But this could be a fun little project. I don't know when I'm going to work on this. I think what we'll do is we'll do like a kind of like a will it run sort of thing. What will it take? I need a fuel tank at least to get it to even think about getting it started. I need a fuel tank. Let's see what we got for. Yeah, we've got a brass pickup tube. There's no fuel pump down here, so actually if we put a little container of gas, it should be able to suck it up. It looks pretty clean. Oh yeah, and we have to figure out why the valves. I'm actually quite curious what's going on with those. It's just, I know it's way past my bedtime, but I'm just so curious. I want to see what's going on with it. Let's see here. The 7/16. I'm really curious, and I know you are too. My loyal viewers, you. What the hell's going on with this engine? What's the deal, son? I need to do a little baffle in here. Yeah, like I said, on that model, they went to a vented pushrod cover. And because of that, they had to add a little baffle. And if you've ever worked on a later model Briggs, like from the 80s or 70s or 80s or so, 60s and beyond, they have a one-way valve, like a spring-loaded valve in the crankcase breather assembly. Come on, you bastard. Get out of there. Ooh, what's this? What do we have here? What on earth? The valves move. So, what the hell is this? Oh my. Oh, that's cool. Look at that. So this is a little check valve. So it allows gases to come out but not back in. And the valves actually move. So why on earth? And they're opening, they're closing. Yeah. And this engine's got what looks like automobile style valve retaining pins rather than those stupid collar things. That's interesting. The other thing, you'll notice the intake spring is much thinner than the exhaust. So why am I getting suction? Well, here's what's happening. Chances are those valves need to be lapped. They're not sealing. That's what's really happening. The valves just aren't sealing properly. And it should be pretty easy fix once we get it apart. But normally you don't want suction on your exhaust. It's not supposed to be that way. I'll put it together later. I gotta go to bed. It is late. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. So, and I gotta work tomorrow. So, thank you guys for watching, and I look forward to doing this, getting this thing running. This engine's in really good shape. Whoever used it or owned it, they must have taken some care of it, because it is in good shape. It's actually a lot cleaner than most newer engines I've seen. But that does not mean we're dealing with a nice machine. So anyway, we'll talk later about this one, and till then.